Ladies and gentlemen, in the beginning, many people seek support, recognition, and motivation from others. Wait for someone to notice their efforts, to cheer them on, to applaud their progress. But one day, you realize a truth that is difficult yet liberating. Nobody truly cares the way you imagined. Not because people are cruel, but because every person is fighting their own battle, walking their own path. And so, through the park, your journey must become your responsibility. Not your parents, not your partners, not your friends. Yours. In life, many people fall into the habit of seeking validation from others before they take action. They wait for someone to acknowledge their potential. You're doing great, or you can do this. And as long as that external validation doesn't come, they hesitate. They pause, they doubt. But over time, a deeper truth begins to surface. Nobody truly cares the way you imagined they would. This realization is not meant to make you bitter. It's meant to make you strong. It's not an insult. It's a release. Because once you stop depending on the approval of others, you free yourself to move with authenticity and clarity. You see, people are wrapped in their own lives. Everyone is navigating through their own struggles, responsibilities, and distractions. And expecting them to consistently support or motivate you is unrealistic. That's not because they don't respect you or don't love you. It's because they are human, just like you. When this becomes clear, running through the park, you begin to understand the work you need to do, the goals you want to achieve, and the discipline required to become who you want to be. All of this is your responsibility, alone you. Depending on others to constantly push you forward is dangerous. Why? Because what happens on the days when nobody shows up? What happens when no one claps? If your drive is tied to praise, you will burn out the moment the applause fades. But if your motivation comes from within, grounded in your own values and purpose, then it becomes unshakable. You will keep going, park, not because someone is watching, but because you have made a decisionable you to honor yourself by staying true to the path. Waiting for validation from others weakens your personal discipline. It teaches your mind to associate worth with recognition. But inner mastery begins in when you break that association. You start to train, to study, to grow. Not for a reward, the park, because it is part of your nature to evolve. You begin to ask, not who will cheer for me, but what kind of person do I want to become, even when no one notices. This shift is powerful. It moves you from dependency to independence, from reaction to intention. You stop chasing attention and start building character. You stop asking the world to care, and instead, you care enough about yourself to show up every single day. No one is coming to save you, and no one needs to, because everything you need, focus, strength, discipline, it already exists within you. But only you can awaken it. And the park and the awakening begins the moment you stop waiting. So understand this clearly, nobody cares at the beginning. And that is exactly why you must do it for yourself. Not to prove them wrong. Not to get noticed. Because the most important person in your life, the one who must never give up on you, is you. Motivation is often misunderstood. Many people believe it is something they need to wait for. Something that must arrive before action can begin. But the truth is far more subtle through the park and far more powerful. Real motivation is not something you wait for. It is something you create. Running the park. And you do not create it by chance or by wishful thinking. You create it by understanding deeply that the most lasting, most transformative motivation comes from within you. When you rely on others to inspire you, you become dependent. If someone compliments you, you feel driven. If they don't, you feel lost. If someone supports you, you keep going. If they disappear, so does your progress. This is an unstable way to live. Because what happens when those people are not around? What happens when no one notices your effort or worse, when they doubt you. If your only source of energy comes from outside of you, then your growth will always be at the mercy of external conditions. You have a choice. You can shift your attention inward. You can begin to realize that you are not here to be moved by others. You are here to move yourself you. True motivation is not loud. It is not flashy. It is quiet like the breath. It arises from clarity, from knowing who you are and why your actions matter. It is not born from someone else's words. It is born from your own decision to live with purpose, discipline, and integrity. This kind of motivation does not disappear when you are tired. It does not vanish when the world is silent. It remains because it is not based on feeling. It is based on understanding. You understand that your future depends on the steps you take today. You understand that your well-being is your responsibility. And you understand that the strongest fire burns from the inside. Not from applause, not from followers, not from praise, but from commitment to your path. That path is often quiet. There are no crowds, no cameras. Just you, waking up early, showing up again and again, choosing discipline over comfort, choosing truth over excuses. And in those moments, when no one sees, when no one cares, you are building something stronger than any compliment could ever give you. Inner strength. This strength cannot be taken away from you because you did not borrow it. It came from you. And that is the gift of internal motivation. It transforms your work into a reflection of your deepest values. It turns your progress into something sacred. And it frees you from the need to chase recognition because you are no longer doing it for others. You are doing it for your growth, for your freedom, for your peace. So do not wait. Do not depend. Begin now. Not when you feel like it, not when others believe in you, when you choose to believe in yourself. That choice is the beginning of a life shaped not by chance, but by clear conscious intention. Pain is not something most people welcome. It is uncomfortable. It is difficult. It can be confusing. Yet, if you observe closely, pain carries with it a hidden message, a powerful lesson waiting to be understood. When approached with the right mindset, pain becomes more than just suffering. It becomes a teacher. It becomes a mirror showing you exactly where you still need to grow, strengthen, or let go. This is why pain should not be immediately rejected or avoided. Instead, it should be studied. Every experience of emotional, mental, or physical discomfort points towards something within you that is not yet balanced. If you feel jealous, perhaps there is insecurity to confront. If you feel tired, perhaps there is discipline to rebuild. If you feel defeated, perhaps there is strength to develop. None of these insights can be gained if you run from pain or try to numb it. True progress happens when you thus sit with your pain, when you allow it to speak without immediately silencing it. Pain shows you where you are still attached to comfort. And comfort, although pleasant, is often the enemy of growth. If you only do what is easy, what is enjoyable, or what brings you immediate pleasure, you will never reach your full potential. Growth demands that you step into discomfort, that you push beyond your known limits. And that process is never without pain. But instead of fearing it, you must learn to welcome it. Not because you enjoy suffering, because you understand its purpose. You cannot build strong muscles without resistance. In the same way, you cannot build a strong character without challenge. Each difficulty you face is like a weight in the gym of life. If you engage with it through the park, you become stronger. If you avoid it, you remain weak. It is not about how much pain you experience, but how consciously you respond to it. Are you reacting with anger and blame, or are you listening, learning, and growing? It is in the moments of greatest pain that you often find the greatest clarity. Clarity about what matters. Clarity about who you are. clarity about what must change. When everything is comfortable, there is little reason to look within. But when things hurt, you are invited to pay attention, to stop and examine what part of you is still underdeveloped. This process is not easy, but it is essential. So the next time you face pain, ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? Maybe it is patience. Maybe it is humility. Maybe it is strength. Whatever the lesson, do not run from it. Embrace it with awareness, with stillness, with courage. Because pain, when faced wisely, is not your enemy, it is your guide. And those who learn from pain instead of avoiding it are the ones who rise, not by avoiding difficulty, but by using it to sharpen the sword within. That is the path of true transformation. When life becomes challenging, many people instinctively look for someone to blame. They point to circumstances, other people, or even fate as the reason for their unhappiness or lack of progress. But blaming others does not bring growth, it delays it. It takes your power and hands it over to someone or something outside of you. As long as you are blaming, you are not changing. And the truth is simple yet hard to accept. Growth begins the moment you take full responsibility for your life. Responsibility does not mean everything is your fault. It means you recognize that your responses, your actions, and your mindset are within your control. You may not control what happens to you, but you absolutely control how you respond to it. This is the beginning of inner strength. Not waiting for life to be fair, choosing to rise regardless of how difficult it may be. Blaming is comfortable. It gives you a temporary escape from facing your own weaknesses. But in that comfort lies danger because it keeps you stuck. It teaches you that you are powerless, that others are in charge of your destiny. And the more you believe that, the less effort you make to change. You become a prisoner, not of others, but of your own unwillingness to accept responsibility. When you begin to shift your thinking, you reclaim your power. You stop saying, they made me feel this way, and start asking, why am I still allowing this to affect me? You stop saying, life is unfair, and begin asking, what can I learn from this situation? These shifts may seem small, but they change the entire direction of your life. Because from that place of ownership, you can build, you can grow, you can act. Taking responsibility is not easy. It requires humility. It requires the willingness to look at yourself with honesty and admit, I have been avoiding, I have been blaming, I have been running. But that honesty is the seed of transformation. Once planted, it allows discipline, resilience, and wisdom to grow. You begin to ask better questions. You begin to take consistent action. Not because anyone forces you to, but because you realize it is your life and no one else can live it for you. When you fully accept responsibility, you become unshakable. People may betray you, life may challenge you, but you no longer crumble. Why? Because you are no longer looking outside for the cause or the solution. You are looking within. That is where your power lies. That is where your answers are. And that is where real, lasting change begins. You will fall at times. You will make mistakes. That is part of the process. But as long as you keep owning your path, you are growing. And in that growth, there is freedom. The freedom to live intentionally, not reactively. The freedom to shape your future with clarity, not with excuses. And that is the essence of true responsibility. Discipline is often misunderstood as something rigid, something harsh. But in truth, discipline is a form of self-respect. It is a silent agreement you make with yourself. Promise that your actions will not be dictated by passing emotions, but by clear intention. Running through the park, If you only act when you feel motivated or inspired, your progress will be inconsistent. A real growth comes when you learn to act regardless of how you feel. Feelings are temporary. They rise and fall like waves. Some days you feel energized, other days you feel tired or discouraged. But discipline does not depend on how you feel. It depends on your decision. A decision made in clarity, in stillness, in purpose. If your life is only driven by emotions, you will always be at the mercy of the moment. But when your actions are guided by discipline, you remain steady, even when the storm comes. Imagine a person who trains only when they are in the mood. Their results will always fall short compared to the one who trains every day, no matter what. Why? Because the second person understands something deeper. Discipline builds character, and character shapes destiny. Running through the park, it's not about doing extraordinary things once in a while. It's about doing the right things again and again, even when you don't feel like it. There will always be days when your mind tells you to skip the hard work. It will whisper, "You're tired. Just do it tomorrow. One day won't hurt." But every time you listen to that voice, you strengthen the habit of giving up. And every time you act despite that voice, you strengthen the habit of follow through. This is how mental toughness is formed. Not in moments of comfort, but in those quiet battles with yourself where no one else is watching. Through the park, and you still choose to show up you. Discipline is not about perfection. It is not about being robotic or emotionless. It's about knowing what matters most to you and refusing let short-term feelings distract you from long-term goals. Running through the park. It's about creating a structure that supports your growth, even on the difficult days. You don't always need to feel like it. You just need to begin. With time, something remarkable happens. The very things that felt difficult begin to feel natural. The structure you built from discipline becomes your new normal. You no longer need to force it. You become it. This is when you realize that discipline was never a restriction. It was a form of freedom. The freedom to live intentionally. The freedom to rise above mood and distraction. The freedom to become who you were meant to be. So, do not wait for the perfect mood. Do not rely on motivation alone. Let discipline be your foundation. Let it carry you when emotion fades. Let it remind you that the work still matters even when no one is watching. Because the difference between who you are and who you want to be is not found in feelings. It is built through disciplined action, day by day. Solitude is often misunderstood. Many associate with loneliness, isolation, or something to avoid. But in truth, solitude is not the absence of others, it is the presence of yourself. In a world filled with constant noise, endless distractions, external expectations, solitude becomes a rare and valuable space. It is in this space, this quiet stillness, you meet the most honest version of yourself. When no one else is watching, when there is no one to impress and no one to please. That is when your true nature is revealed. Most people spend their lives performing. They perform roles, wear masks, and shape their actions based on how others might perceive them. This constant performance creates distance from who they really are. When you are alone, the performance and the mask comes off. There is no applause, no judgment, only you. And in that silence, the park, important questions arise. Who am I without the opinions of others? What do I truly value? What do I want to become? These questions can only be answered in solitude, because only solitude provides the space for genuine reflection. When you allow yourself to sit quietly, without distraction, you begin to notice your patterns, your fears, your habits, your attachments. You begin to see clearly where you are acting from truth and where you are acting fear. This awareness is not always comfortable, but it is essential, because you cannot grow if you do not understand yourself. Solitude also teaches you strength. Through the park, many people are afraid of being alone because they do not want to face their inner world. But facing yourself is not a weakness, it is a sign of maturity. It means you are willing to deal with your emotions, your thoughts, your past, not by running from them, but by sitting with them. When you can be at peace in your own presence, you become free. You are no longer dependent on noise, company, or approval to feel whole. This inner stillness becomes a foundation. It helps you make better decisions. It helps you respond rather than react. And most importantly, through the park, it reconnects you to your inner compass, the part of you that knows what is right, even when the world tells you otherwise. Compass only becomes clear when the external noise fades, and that only happens in solitude. You don't need to disappear into the mountains or isolate yourself from the world. Even a few moments of quiet each day, without your phone, without music, without distraction, can create this space for clarity. In that stillness, you gather your energy. You refine your purpose. You return to what truly matters. So do not fear solitude. Embrace it, seek it, use it. Because in solitude, you meet the one person who will always be with you yourself. And the deeper your relationship with yourself, the stronger, clearer, and more grounded your life becomes. Solitude is not emptiness. It is the space where true understanding begins. In a world driven by results, recognition, and rewards, it is easy to lose sight of a deeper true thing. Not everything you do must be measured by applause or approval. There is a powerful freedom in doing something, not because it will bring fame, money, or praise, but simply because it is right. When you act with this mindset, your life becomes guided not by outcome, but by principle. And that is a far more stable foundation for lasting growth and inner peace. Many people are trapped in cycles of seeking validation. They want to be seen, to be liked, to be admired. Their choices are often shaped by what brings the most attention. What happens when the applause fades? What happens when the reward doesn't come? If your motivation is tied to being noticed, then your sense of purpose will rise and fall with the opinions of others. This is not a life rooted in strength. It is a life built on instability. Doing something because it is right means acting from your values, even when no one is watching. It means staying true to your word, keeping your discipline, and showing up fully. Not because you will be rewarded, because your actions reflect the kind of person you choose to be. This is a higher standard. It is not easy, but it is powerful, because it frees you from the emotional highs and lows that come with constantly seeking approval. When you commit to this way of living, something begins to shift. You start making choices based on integrity, not impulse. You say no to distractions because you understand your direction. You are not moved by whether people notice your efforts, because you know that your character is being shaped by those quiet, unseen actions. And slowly your confidence grows, not from what others say about you, but from what you know about yourself. There is a quiet dignity in this way of living. A strength that does not shout, but is unshakable. You do the work even when it's hard. You show up even when it's inconvenient. And you remain consistent even when the world is inconsistent. Why? Because your actions are not controlled by outcome. They are controlled by your commitment to living truthfully. This mindset also brings peace. When you are no longer chasing reward or recognition, you become more present. You are not rushing. You are not desperate. You are aligned. And that alignment brings a deeper satisfaction, one that applause can never give you. So ask yourself, are you doing it for praise? Or are you doing it because it is right? The first path is exhausting. The second is liberating. When you choose the second path, you become grounded in something that no one can take from you, your own integrity. And that is the quiet power of living by principle, running the park. It doesn't always shine on the outside, but it always strengthens you on the inside.